Designer's Cafe.
Every object that I draw in AutoCAD has its location recorded according to the Cartesian coordinate system. In our Cartesian coordinate system, in 2 dimensions, we have our x-axis going horizontal and our y-axis is the vertical axis. The place where these 2 axes cross is my 0, 0 or origin point. In AutoCAD, we're usually working in this top right quadrant. My UCS, User Coordinate System, or World Coordinate System icon is generally sitting at the origin, or my 0, 0 point, in the lower left-hand corner of my AutoCAD drawing area. You'll notice that in this upper right quadrant, the values of the x and y are both positive numbers. The location of each point can be given as an ordered pair. In my ordered pair, the first value is the distance on the x-axis, and the second value is the distance on the y-axis, separated by a comma. Because each of these axes is arranged as a number line, you notice that when you're moving to the right of the origin, the values are positive. When you're moving to the left, the values are negative. The same is true on the y-axis for moving above the origin or below the origin. In looking at our AutoCAD graphics area, you can see our UCS icon down here in the lower left corner. It represents the origin on our Cartesian system. Now I have my coordinate readout down here in the lower left corner of my AutoCAD screen. You'll notice that when I'm at the 0, 0 point, that's the readout that I'm getting. If I move 1 unit on the x and 1 unit on the y, my coordinate readout is telling me my location according to my absolute coordinates in the Cartesian system. Because AutoCAD understands absolute coordinate value, I can use it to input data when I'm drawing. I'm going to start a line command, and let's say that I wanted to start my line at this point right here. This is 2 on the x and 2 on the y. So I would input that from the keyboard by entering 2, 2. And when I hit enter, I've started a line from that point. Now if I wanted to draw a line that was 4 units long and went to the right, I would enter the absolute value of the endpoint of that line. And you can see this is 6 on the x and it's 2 on the y. So I would enter that from the keyboard, 6, 2, and hit enter. Now I want to draw another line that's vertical and is 4 units long. And you can see that this would be 6 on the x and 6 on the y. Absolute coordinates are always measured from the 0, 0 point. I want to draw another line that's 4 units going to the left here, and the endpoint would be designated by 2 on the x and 6 on the y. 2, 6. And if I want to end and draw this as a square, I would be going back to 2, 2, the absolute value of my starting point, and I can end that. Now it's not always convenient to have to calculate the absolute coordinate value of every endpoint. Sometimes I would like to be able to specify the coordinates in relation to the last point that I've drawn. These are referred to as relative coordinate entries, and AutoCAD understands those as well. I'm going to start a line command and we'll look at relative coordinates. I'm going to start again from my absolute value of 2, 2. And now I want to draw a line that's 4 units long, 4 units on the x, and was going to have no change on the y from this last point, from my beginning point. To let AutoCAD know that I'm going to enter a relative value, I use the @ symbol. This is Shift number 2 on the keyboard will give you an @ which to AutoCAD means relative. Relative to that last point, I want to move 4 on the x and 0 on the y. And that's another way of picking that point relative to my last point. For my next line, I want to move 4 units on the y and no units on the x. So I would say at 0 units on the x, 4 units on the y, and I'm up at that point. Now you remember our Cartesian system, when we move to the right we had positive values, when we want to move to the left they're negative values. So if I say relative, that means relative to that point I want to move 4 units to the left on the x, so that would be a negative 4 on the x, and I want to move 0 on the y. To get back down to my starting point, if I use a relative command, I'm going to be moving in a negative direction on the y. So I would be 0 on the x, but a negative 4 on the y. When I hit enter, I'm back at my starting position.